I'm retro. Let's get it. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. Yeah, it's lit in the chop shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based in debate, but they keep it fact straight. Going 30 for 30, let's do a first take on Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Carter Ray, Skip Bayless and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal. To the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket. I'm on the floor, I attack the basket. Put you in the casket when I'm overlapping. Never showing mercy, cause I'm always snapping. Never showing mercy when I'm in the arena. Step into the ring, he hit me as I beat him. Step into the court, I'm never backing down. Killing competition, I'm smacking down. Let me get back to the other stuff at the chop shop, cause they cutting up. It's retro, coming to you live to the chop shop. Now let's turn it up. Yeah, we in the chop shop, man. Shout out to Jim Hicks and Rob Hatter. You can catch the chop shop live from 12 to 2 on Facebook Live. Let's get it. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop.
H-Town, what's up? You know what time it is. It's time for the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. But we're broadcasting all over the world via Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And we got this unique community called the Boom Boom Room that's inside both of those platforms, on the YouTube side, on the Facebook side. And let me tell you something. Shout out to Tyandra Holmes, Todd Holmes, Rick Brown, Derek Johnson, and Rod Wells. Those were our first 5, our starting 5 people to just come on the shop on different platforms. I think 1 or 2 on one platform and 1 or 2 are on the other. And Jimmy, I just want to tell y'all happy baby Friday. And I got some news for y'all. I want y'all to bear with me for a minute. Major League Baseball, right? The teams are telling players to prepare for spring training. It's the first time they told them this. It feels like it's a little light at the end of the sports tunnel here, y'all. Okay, states are opening up amidst controversy now. Some, we got a little controversy, but for baseball, spring training can begin in June. As of right now, actual baseball games can begin, I think, in July. They said sometime in July. And when you hear what is going on in the NBA, remember, it was the NBA, Jimmy, that shut down all of this stuff to begin with. Once the Rudy Gobert, the people who don't know, once the Rudy Gobert positive test came back in the OKC Jazz game, that started a cavalcade of dominoes. The NBA now, they are having a conference call with all the players and the team officials on Friday. They mean all 450 players. They will begin to talk about some, and there are some facilities that are opening up around down the NBA. Let me tell you something. Nothing's definite yet, and there's obviously a lot of hurdles along the way. But the fact that these discussions are being had makes us feel like, hey, we might have some here. And Jimmy, before we go any further, what's up, Waukesha Hayes and John Newsom? I want to say a shout out to Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur is the coach of the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers' coach. He has started, Jimmy, a minority fellowship program for aspiring coaches to have an opportunity, not in college, not in high school, but in the NFL. Matt LaFleur is happen to be a white coach, and this program is for minority coaches and have the opportunity, so they can have the opportunity now to coach in the NFL. Thank you, Matt LaFleur. I commend you. Thank you for your forward thinking. And Jimmy, his first fellow happened to be his wide receiver in college. They play, I think, Ravel Martin. His wide receiver, Matt LaFleur, used to be a quarterback at Saginaw State University. And this guy caught one of his first passes from Aaron Gordon, Ravel Martin, I think. So it got some ties to it. But shout out to that guy. We can't wait on the Rooney Rule. We can't wait on the everything else. This coach just took on himself to say, hey, and by the way, Jimmy, Green Bay has a minority program where coaches can come in intern for the summer. But this guy is going to do this for the whole season. So shout out to that Matt LaFleur and that program. And Jimmy, what I want to do now before I give it to you, I want to find out who's new in the house, who's new on the Chop Shop today. Shout out yourself and let us know. I want to know who's new because it's an interesting thing happened on YouTube. I thank y'all from the bottom of my heart, Jimmy and I, for supporting the YouTube site also. We're getting traction. Thank you and you know who you are, the people. But Jimmy, who are signed up and subscribed to YouTube. Jimmy, I saw some yesterday. We get new Facebook likes. They lacking us on Facebook. We got a lot of Facebook likes. So all you new Facebook likes, I want you to do me a favor. Go over there and subscribe to the YouTube page. And we'll be talking about it periodically throughout the show. But I found out when we prompt you to, I promise you, I watch how you're responding, and I thank you so much. What you got, Jimmy? What we got today, baby?
Since you're talking about football, I want to remind you guys, at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Grassroots Don Lupe Nunez from the San Antonio area. He's with the Under Armour sponsored program, Texas Hard Work. He's going to be joining us on the Chop Shop. We're going to talk grassroots basketball, how sneaker deals are obtained, what you can expect, and this and thing. So just filling some gaps on this Baby Friday to help some of you understand just a few of the ins and outs when it gets to what I call the sneaker circuit. Now, also speaking of NFL, Earl Thomas is from Greater Houston. And he's the football player.
I thought he's from the Port Arthur area.
I say he's from Greater Houston.
Okay, I thought you said from Houston. Okay, all right.
He's from Greater Houston.
Okay.
That's yeah. And he was in the news. I mean, made an Instagram post after word seeped out that his wife had held a loaded, at the time, a gun towards his head over a domestic dispute.
What was that domestic dispute?
Allegedly, she caught him cheating. All right.
Jimmy, the woman caught the man in the bed with his brother and another woman. Go and tell it.
That was his brother. That was his brother.
What are you doing in the bed with him?
The lookout man.
He didn't look out good enough.
And so now here's the thing that's interesting about this. They're coming out. Of course, he went on Instagram and it's published now. Understand that the wife did get arrested that night or shortly after. However, here's the point. The Baltimore Ravens have acknowledged that they know about the incident. Hell, the whole world knows about the incident pretty much now. However, per protocol, Earl Thomas did not inform the Ravens. Now, I'm not sure as far as the gray area because technically he did not go to jail. You have to inform them if you go to jail. But I think you also have to inform them of a domestic violence if domestic violence take place based on the transgressions of the past 5 years. Ray Rice start ignited with Ray Rice. You have to inform them. He did not. And so according to the Baltimore Ravens. And that's what I find intriguing about that particular situation. Anyway, also in the news.
No, Jimmy, it's safe to say that relationship, you didn't talk. It's safe to say that relationship is in bad shape. It's in bad shape. When you're pulling guns on people, it'll be hard for me to sleep or me to sleep there again. That's a weird situation. I mean, I know I don't like to put light on that thing, but that's a unique thing that I'm glad you brought it up. I really wasn't going to bring it up today because that's not just bless their heart, and I hope they get that stuff together.
Now, I got a fascinating thing about the NCAA today. Piece of news to just put in your pipe. The D1 Council approved that D1 schools can spend below, right, their minimum. I mean, that what their level was before on scholarships, on scholarship players. They can go below that. Since everybody taking pay cuts, so now the scholarships can go below. So in particular, let me explain to you one instance on what that would mean. Would or could. You know how some kids, when they graduate high school, and right about now, kids are getting ready on a normal year. They're going through preparing for graduations, prom/graduations. Well, guess what? They would go and enroll in college at the first semester of summer school in June. Well, and that would be the way to get those kids, get them some hours up on them, and they can go and start getting into the workouts and going and do the one-on-ones or the things that they would have to do for us there. The requirements of the off-season conditioning. Well, now, as a result of this ruling, the kids who are in college, who are signed with a letter of intent, may participate in those activities without enrolling in class. So the kids don't have to go in summer school now. Now, it's kind of intriguing because there was not going to be many schools that have an in-person summer school in the first place. So how is that losing money for that person to be on the online Zoom class or not? I'm confused how on that part. So, but anyway, at the same time, I do understand that would be projected budget cuts from that angle of the school, of coming from the conferences. What else we got in the mailbag?
Oh man, I got one, man. I got one from the Don today, man. Hold on.
Who that?
I got one from the Don, from the Don's Twitter. Hold up, y'all. I got to share this with y'all. The Don. I mean, where I said chop. Where my mailbag at, man? Hold up, boy. Hold up, y'all. Okay, it's in my other mail. Hold up. I got you. But when I tell you, I want y'all to hear this. Hold on. What did he say? Oh, y'all, it's killing me. Jimmy, keep talking. I got it. And I don't know which notes I put it in.
And another news, of course, San Antonio's superintendent, Pedro Martinez, he went and jumped the gun a couple of days ago and issued a statement basically saying that, well, it was a Q&A session during an interview. And they asked him this question: are all school athletics off? Is his answer. So the UIL would dictate that, Gloria. But what I think is going to happen in any contact sports, we're not going to have any of those, at least for the first semester. And I just stopped right there. He goes on, but I just stopped right there. Basically, he acknowledged in the Q&A that that's just the superintendent talking of the San Antonio School District. Then shortly thereafter, the athletic director came back with a video contradicting and clarifying, hey, look, if we saw the news out there, that is totally false. The AD corrected and contradicted his boss, saying, look, that's false. We plan to have football. In a nutshell, I'm just paraphrasing. And anything you saw about that, just discount that. Okay. So I found that very intriguing. And it goes to show how the magnitude of so many people in administration who are not on the same page during these times. It is unbelievable. If you watch, Jimmy, if you guys live in Houston,
Jimmy, it's unbelievable.
What? No, it's no. I'm gonna tell you why it's unbelievable. Why? Unbelievable in that after seeing so many mistakes before you, after seeing so many people stick their foot or their thumb in their mouth, after seeing what it does as far as the Great Divide, and you see what the part is unbelievable is that when you see people that I understand, it would be more, you can understand if the Republican governor feels this way and our Democratic mayor feels this way. But when you see, and which has happened to be white versus and a black, which, yeah, race in it. But when you see the white and the white at this time, or the Hispanic and the Hispanic at this time, which I understand political lines had nothing to do with politics. I'm just talking about that's the surprising part, how you could go out there so fast, so wrong, and then the next person can go and contradict, and go and just go with over their superior in such
Politics. That's why I don't get surprised. Politics, I explained on this show. There's no permanent friends. There are no permanent enemies. There's only permanent interests. Politics. The leadership of this country is fragmented. So, of course, it trickles down. So I'm not surprised. And I hope nobody else is surprised. We just going to hope you don't be surprised no more. But I got something for you. This what got me this morning. From Aldon. From John Lucas Enterprise. A tweet this morning. No, late last night. Jimmy liked it and Alvin Brooks liked it. Parents, understand. And I don't know where it came from, Jimmy. I just thought it was interesting, and I thought our parents might want to hear this. Parents, understand just because media outlets tweet about your child does not mean that they want the best for them. And just because they remain silent publicly does not mean they dislike your child. As long as you're as long as you're talking with coaches directly, everything is where it should be. Wow. Which Brooks? It's one of you, Brooks. Y'all just liked it, Coach. I'm glad. See, I love when my coach is on the air. Coach, let me read that again, because I messed up a word. Let me read that again. Parents, and y'all, hey, listen. YouTube, I want y'all to comment, because I'm watching your YouTube. Hey, my YouTube comments is on this side. I got them right here. My Facebook feed, and I got them in the middle. Y'all got to understand. If y'all saw my setup, I got stuff on this side and stuff in the middle. Parents, understand. And Jimmy, I don't know why this happened. I don't know what. I wish I knew the origin of it. He said, because media outlets tweet about your child does not mean that they want the best for them. And just because they remain silent publicly does not mean they dislike your child. As long as you're talking with coaches directly, everything is where it should be. Wow. Jimmy, you liked it. Coach Brooks, you liked it. What did you get out of that, Jimmy?
Well, it's well, first thing I get out of it is that the parents that message is angled at has to be parents that are in the 10th grade to the 12th grade.
Okay.
Because coaches can't contact you permissible until a certain date before the 10th grade season. Now a lot of people, you got to realize when they're dealing with their babies, they want you, and I say this all the time. Nobody is going to love your baby like you. Don't you expect anybody's input to be greater than your output? Everybody feels that they look, and you'll be surprised to the magnitude of which social media yields people the ability to, with a search button or search bar, to go and search this. Let's see how many times. Let's see who. And then he ain't talking about my baby, but he talked about his baby. Did y'all notice? He talked about. They always talking about Hightower or Martin Ranch or Jack Yates.
I love it.
Well, or Dickerson. It became a TV show, but I got a couple of messages and questions. Why you always talking about? And so understand something, guys. When the NBA season was in effect, I didn't hear a whole lot of people talking about the New York Knicks in regard to their performance in playoff and postseason, or the Minnesota Timberwolves. Those people talked about, you talk about win. That's the price that comes with winning.
Jimmy, I talked about the Knicks.
Success.
I talked about
at the beginning of the season, you were right on board. I'm talking about toward the end when
most people wasn't there.
When the season ended, there was not much talk about the Knicks.
When they fired the guys, you remember I said I'm done with them when they fired my dude.
That's the front office. I'm talking about the basketball, and rooting and tooting for the team and looking at their box score. The only thing we kept up was Damon Dotson.
Yeah.
My point is, people talk about when you're winning, you will be in the news. Ain't nobody talking about the third string quarterback for the Houston Texans right now. You're not winning. You ain't got on the field. We talking about you. That comes with it. So now, if people not at the same time, for those of you, and here's the thing, it's great because we leads right into, some of the conversations with Lupe Nunez coming up on the back nine, is that, guys, there's a misnomer out there that if you keep a person informed, that's in, just say on my perch, right? My perch as far as owning the RCS Sports, and which provides intel and does several things to keep people in the community informed about basketball, keep college coaches informed about basketball and intel about the players. Well, if you're not keeping RCS Sports up to date, then basically in today's, it used to be, it's no pressure to go and get and find out if you hit, what you're doing this week or what you're averaging and this and that, because there's no pressure, meaning that if I didn't report it, that means I still got another day or two and get the news and drop it out there tomorrow. Well, in today's society, either the workout guy, grassroots coach, mom, dad, kid himself, girlfriend, somebody, or the high school head coach, somebody's going to put that info out there. So that means we got to put it out there. He ain't said nothing about our son. Well, it's simple. If you, just like in the news, when you watch the 5 o'clock news today, there's going to be something that happens. There's going to be a press conference. You can tell press conference means if somebody's talking and there's a bunch of microphones in front of them, that means somebody sent a message out to let those media people know at a certain time, this is what we're going to be. We have a press conference. We'd like for you to show up. So we're going to talk, and they won't tell you what exactly to talk about, but you get a hint. You guys have the capacity to comprise an email box. Several summer grassroots coaches and several high school coaches were very well at that, Howard. They would keep you posted. I remember every week pop, pop with info. Win or lose. I remember Frank Watson was probably
He was
the
good.
most,
You told me about him. He was
the
real
most
good.
consistent. He was the most consistent
Yeah.
of all of the local grassroots guys. Mm-hmm. Frank Watson, he probably had 4 Division I players in 10 years with his program. That means the vast majority were non-Division I players, just like the vast majority of your babies out there are non-Division I players. But guess what? He bought into it, and he understood, and he fought for those guys and kept everybody informed in one email blast. That means he ain't got to go and make a call here. I can count the times I've spoken with Frank Watson on the telephone in the past year and a half. Can count them on one hand. But he kept you informed. If you keep a person informed enough, they don't really got to talk to you that much. That was my motto with the college coaches. I keep them informed, but I can only keep them informed on the intel that I have confirmed or that I have got from a valid source. I'm not going and getting nothing off nobody else's social media page and sending it to a college coach. I'm not going to do it. I feel like if that's not worth an email or a text message from you or a direct message, then guess what? It's no big thing. It's not personal. That's the part. A lot of people make it personal, especially when it comes down to the end of the tunnel, and you realize ain't no.
That's what you got out of what I just read to you. That all of this coming out of that.
All this is coming in the aftermath of that. When you mentioned about some people, they think because people don't mention their sons or daughters that they don't like them. That was part of that.
Oh, I got you. And in my case, see, I have to go because I don't mention a lot of people's because I don't know them. That's Jimmy's job to know the high school basketball athletes. And Jimmy says something right. The reason I talk about certain teams because I got a relationship and they tell me about that. So, like Jimmy, nobody has no excuse for us not to talk about their kid. You know why? If they mad, they just gonna be mad. You know why? Because we got an email box, chopshophtx@gmail.com. You can't expect us to know everything about every kid. You got to understand that, parents. I mean, I didn't even think about it like Jimmy. I didn't even, because I don't consider myself the media, so I didn't even put myself in it. I was just sitting there saying, but because you mentioned, because we talk about how to, of course I do. I got a relationship there. Martin Ranch got a relationship there, and guess what I told parents, Jimmy? I said, if you ever watch Deion Sanders on Sunday after a basketball game, he always said, this is famous phrase, if you ball, you get the call. In other words, you don't get the call. So if you're balling, you're going to get the call. Every team I talk to, they balling. Every player I talk. So it's no slight to nobody's kid. But with the information y'all got out there, y'all got his email address, y'all got his Twitter, y'all got the Chop Shop Twitter, y'all got the Chop Shop email. And you won't take out your time to sit up and say, look, so-and-so, so-and-so. And let me tell you something about Jimmy. I found this out. Now, don't just do me a favor. I'm going to mute him so he can't hear. Let me tell y'all something. Hold on, let me hold on. I'm gonna show. I'm gonna do one better, y'all. This gonna be between us. This us right here, right? If you're gonna send him the good scores, make sure you send him the not so good scores too. Cause guess what? You send him the good scores, he gonna go and watch you. So it's us talking right here now, okay? If you're gonna send him the 30-point game, send him the 6 and the 8-point game and the 5 turnover game too. All right? Okay, that's between me and you. I'm gonna bring Jimmy back on. Hold on. Now, Jimmy. Now we can go. So it's what Jimmy, what was your favorite thing? Input equal output. Input equal output. And that's all. Cause guess what? If y'all know my heart, I want to talk about all y'all kids. Cause I'm enjoying. Think about this, y'all. I went to a middle school basketball championship. I ain't never been to but one in my life. That's the one my son played over there with Ralph Cooper, what you call it, Jimmy, the Rise of Stars or whatever, long time ago at Chavez High School. And I found myself going, which is as of no benefit to me and my family, Jimmy. But I know some of the young ninth graders now that's going to be going and playing. So we you know what, we're doing the best. And I'm glad John, somebody asked the question, does John tweet out? I don't know. That ain't my business. But it was a good, whoever tweeted it out.
What's the question?
Talking about, does John tweet out this stuff
himself,
John Lucas Enterprise, or he have somebody that's doing it for him?
Most of the time he does.
He does.
Now if it's during an event,
yeah,
while an event is taking place, and one of his events, then he may give his phone to one of his assistants to keep everybody, keep everybody active during his events. But like at times like right now, no, he's that's John.
But Jimmy, I think it was great. Y'all got to think about it. If I think enough of the copy and paste it and put it in my notes, I hope y'all can see this. Copy it and paste it and put it in my notes. I think Jimmy, I didn't realize that, because sometimes I know you call me, I don't consider myself media. I'm just a guy that just on this air, just trying to give parents, because I was a parent, and I'm just trying to make sure I can help you parents navigate this thing and try to make it entertaining a little bit, but navigate and try to take y'all behind the veil in certain situations that I've been privy to in my life. So I don't consider myself media, but guess what? I guess I'm a part of the media because people are watching and listening to my input every day. So, but yes, if make sure we know who your kid is, okay? And we won't have this problem. But dislike none kid, no. Can't ever do that, y'all. So we're just talking from this perch. Now listen, I'm talking about Jimmy. I'm talking about me and Jimmy talking about himself. I don't know what the rest of the media guys are talking about. I don't know, because there's a lot of people that I don't follow. And I just don't follow them. Because when people send me stuff, I say, oh, okay, I missed that. I don't follow. But Jimmy, I think that's okay. Jimmy, you tied it up. Now I understand what you were talking about, because you kind of took me for a turn. You got to give me, put it to me where the ghost can get it. You like to go around the corner sometime, and I like to go pull up straight in the garage. So, but what else you got on? You got something else on that?
Well, once I want to clarify something I just said again.
Okay.
Once again, and the question was, he asked, was John do his own tweeting or does he give somebody else? And my reply a while ago was, often John Lucas, yes, he will tweet himself. If it's an event or something going on, if he's in the gym in a workout or in one of his events, he will pass his phone to somebody, one of his assistants, and they can tweet stuff out and keep it live. And so so Herb Baker says no, he doesn't. Luke will hand his phone in and everything. Luke, Herb, once again, that goes under what I just said. But yes, he does tweet. You're making it seem like this man don't know how to spell. Luke, mom and daddy were both educators. I mean, so he understand. He knows it's not like he know how to put the comma where it's supposed to go. So he does tweet on his own. I've seen him tweet on his own before. So that's why I know that. And you have to realize, in the pandemic, if you just pay attention to the hours and the times then of some people's tweets. And then you can tell if it's them or not. Yeah. As opposed to where you know where they are or where they are. Yeah, that's all you have to do. Look at the time. Every tweet has a time stamp on it. And that's pretty, that's pretty much it. And that's it. Now, you mentioned about the college coaches and the parents speaking to the coaches. This is something really important. And that is parents. It is an extreme luxury to be able to speak and have a college coach to call you more than once on the telephone and speak with you.
Say it again, Jimmy. It is what?
It's an extreme luxury. That's a luxury in life for a parent to have a college coach to call them more than once, 2 or more times, and dialogue with them. That's rare air. Most of the things would be, be the formal conventional routes. But to have them call you and want to dialogue, have them call, if they call you 2 more times, not you talking to them 2 more times, that means you call them. They called you 2 or more times, extreme luxury, no matter what level of the college that is. Now, here's the things. A lot of the conversations, remember, they're trying to learn stuff about you. What are you trying to learn about the college coach?
Okay.
You're so starstruck, and you imagine with him while he on the phone. You're tweeting the next, texting your kinfolk. Hey, guess who on the phone with me? With? Guess who just called me? Hey, you're gonna. I've seen a parent do the FaceTime while they're on the speakerphone
with the coach.
With college coach. I've seen this happen before.
I ain't never seen
so starstruck.
I ain't never seen that. That's good.
I mean, this is recently. And so my thing is, what are you trying to learn about the coach in that conversation? Let me tell you something. If you ask questions, that helps, and ask questions that are not conventional. Ask questions that you think nobody else has asked that coach today. That will get that coach, he will remember that phone call, be more likely to remember your call if you could ask that. And so now, meanwhile, you got to ask questions about your kid. For example, one good question I always tell people to ask the parent. First, you guys heard this a lot of times.
How you hear about me? How you get my number?
How did you get my cell number? So that I would know whom to thank. See, you got to put it all together. That way now the coach won't get defensive because the coach ain't going to give up his source. So you can go and cuss somebody out and be mad at them. No, take that back. Yeah, they will. If they think they can get the kid, they'll get your ass up in a heartbeat. They'll roll you clean up under the bus. But how did you get my coach? May I ask you a question? And they say, sure. How did you get my cell numbers? Because I want to know who to thank. And I'm in the process now. I want to give credit and give thanks in accordance. And that coach will tell you, well, actually, I got your cell number from this. And then next thing you know, you see a guy tweeting out that he hooked up the deal. He the one that made the coach. He connected and contacted this coach or gave him your. If a coach contacted a person contacted a college coach on your behalf and don't give that coach the parent, your cell phone number, then that means that person is deliberately attempting to propel themselves as the controller or the liaison of this. That means that's one more extra person that coach got to talk to. It happens in life. It happens all the time. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it at all. I'm just letting you know how it goes. But you would get the respect that parent. By the time that parent gets to talk to their coach, the conversation is so far past that you chasing the 8 ball as a parent. Ask them how they get your number. Then you ask the coach. Let me tell you how you put a coach on the spot. You want to put him on the spot? Coach, when is the last time you seen my son or daughter play? And what event? When the last time you seen my son or daughter play? Do you remember where and when? What event was it? And guess what? A lot of them going to spit it off the top of their head. And a lot of them understand something now. Oh, boy, this is going to get you. A lot of times when some coaches call you, they have you up on the screen already. A lot of the organized staffs have a spreadsheet, which they have what they put notes in. What they call it, like a Google Notes. That's what they call it. How the Google sheets that everybody can look at the same time.
Google Docs.
Google Doc.
Yeah.
That's it. a lot of the coaches have the Google Doc.
Yeah.
So understand, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that means if you ask, and it will have whenever I saw him, one coach might put, I saw him play November the 31st. I mean November the 30th. And another coach might put it on there. I saw him play January the 2nd versus this team. He did this, did that. Those notes, another coach put mama name so-and-so, her and the daddy don't get along. Don't mention the dad name to the mama. Don't mention the mama name to the daddy. I'm telling you, those notes are in there. For not everybody, every staff are not the same. But these are things that you as a parent should understand what you're up against. So they could possibly have an entire screen of notes on you and you have nothing on them.
And they have a psychologist on staff that anytime they need to, understand how to deal with parents in these situations. And what Jimmy just trying to really tell you, these guys are professionals. Mom and daddy, you're no match for these guys. They are professionals. And what you just trying to do is get to know that professional. Get to know. And what I found out about my coaching in my coaching search with me to help my son, I just really tried to feel the guy out, because I realized wherever he go, if he go far from home, he gonna be away from home, and these men have to be the guys in authority that my son has to listen to. Y'all got to hear this, parents. My son has to listen to. So when when Robert made his decision, excuse me, Lord, he probably watching the show. When he made the decision, I just wanted to make sure I had a feeling that a coach, man, you're going to take care. All the mama want, man, you're going to take care of my baby. All the daddy wants, man, you're going to look out for my young fella. And I told the story, Jimmy. I knew I picked the right guys. Coach Bill Courtney, Marlon Sears. I'll forever be grateful to those two African-American head coach and associate head coach. My son was very sick one night, Melvin Dews. You might haven't heard the story, Yolanda Green. Very sick. He sent me, said, Dad, I never felt this way. You got to mind you, I'm in Houston, 2 plane rides away from Ithaca, New York. Okay? 2 o'clock, but 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, Dad, I don't know. I just don't know. His urine was dark, and I know that's. So I called the coach. I said, you ever called the coach? I called the coaches in the middle of the night. Those guys got out of their bed next to their wives and went and took care of my son until I could get there. Remember I told you it takes 2 planes to get from here to Ithaca. Let me tell you something. When I talked to those guys in the beginning, I felt those guys go. See, what we parents, we got to realize on these college campuses, things gonna go bad. We got Jerence Howard on this air. It's some bad stuff happened in Kansas when them guys went off the floor and anything could have happened. And I'm a parent sitting there watching it. And all I wanted to know is, I saw those coaches, Jerence and I forgot my young fella's name. They were looking out for your sons. So that would be my thing, parent. Like Jimmy said, don't be in awe of these guys because you see them on TV. Ask them questions. Because they already know everything about you. You better learn everything you can about them. And and I hope that helps somebody, because that was very important to me. It was scary. I could, as a dad, as a parent, Jimmy, I felt helpless. Jimmy, you felt helpless. I wanted to go steal a plane to fly it up there and didn't even know how to fly it. But I was on that next thing at 6 o'clock that morning. Don't get it twisted. I was on the next thing smoking. But that's parents. I hope that helped in your situation. I didn't even know that this was going to even come up today. But Jimmy, I love how you explain that. So you can continue, Jimmy. You can continue.
Yeah, and we go to the boom boom room and present some of your thoughts. Don't forget, coming up shortly within the next 8 minutes or so, we're expected to be joined by one of the grassroots key figures in this, not only in the state of Texas but in the country, and that is Lupe Nunez with the Texas Hard Work Grassroots program, which is sponsored in part by Under Armour. So we're gonna continue the dialogue about recruitment and about stuff. We want to extend that conversation through him and talk about a lot more. But meanwhile, questions to ask the college coach that I would think would be make him remember you, because when that coach hang up the phone, that coach will look at the phone and say, "And that was that dad, that mom had some good questions for me, man. They were ready for me." I mean, that makes it memorable. That can help expedite the relationship, because that coach will know now. Think about it. If you put 3 or 4 good questions on his lap, when he calls your butt back, if he calls you back, he's gonna be prepared, because ain't no telling what you're gonna ask him next time. You see? So if you're talking to the head coach, that's an extreme luxury. Ask that head coach, and you be careful now for the political correct answer, because a lot of coaches, most will give you that because they don't know you like that. You could be taping them. Think about it. And nowadays, after what just happened with the federal government and the trials, and to realize 2 or 3 of those coaches had no idea they was being wiretapped, that they was being taped, that they was talking candidly. So trust me, coaches now, if they don't know you, they ain't talking to you like that on the telephone. I ain't talking about no bags. I'm talking about just general recruiting stuff. I'm not going to talk to you on the phone like that. They're going to keep the answers really between the lines and narrow.
And Herb Ledee said something great. And you're right, Herb. He said there's never any guarantees in anything in life. You do everything possible. What do you say? You do it to make the best decision you can, and that's really all you can do. I'm smart enough to know on these college campuses, and when you go and try to be a student athlete somewhere, Jimmy, things don't go right. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't go right, and I just want somebody to treat. You remember, Jimmy? I'm gonna give this thing again, parents. Ashley Jones, Shante Wilson, all of you new parents that's got new athletes that's going to college, LJ Cryer. When you have a chance to talk to those coaches, the ones in power, it's a secret. I mean, it's not a secret because I've told it on this show before. All you do is get with the coach, preferably the head coach, and all you do is tell him, say, "Coach, look here, coach. Do me a favor. Anything goes on wrong with my son on this campus, and you and him can't handle it, do me a favor and call me. And before you make a drastic decision, coach, call me and give me a chance to make it right before you make a drastic decision. Could you do that for me, coach?" That's all. Coaches got to respect that. Because he knows he can get through him. I told him the story, Jimmy. That if Robert was going through that drill, you know that you have to get 4 consecutive stops to get off the floor. And this year, a little 165 pound, didn't like to lift weights and mess around and went to college. And the big strong dudes, he couldn't stop him. He couldn't get a stop. And he said his back locked up, and he laid on the floor and wouldn't move. And told him if they put their hand on, he gonna fight. Well, you know, I can't tell all that. What he was gonna do. Coach from the practice, Bill Courtney said, call his dad. From practice, picked up the phone, called me. I said, give him the phone. I put it like this: we never had that problem again. And he wound up being the captain of the team. in his junior and his senior year. But like I say, Coach, but I told him, Coach, before Coach could have did something drastic, Jimmy. Coach Robert he wasn't expecting authority. He just laid there, Yolanda. Talking about anybody move me, we're going to fight. In practice, you're right. We talk about practice. You know, it's the anniversary of guy. Coach, the young fella, but guess what? Coach said, I never had a problem with that guy again after that. So, Coach, I'm not telling y'all parents, I'm not giving y'all some pie in this. This stuff worked for me. Might not work for you. Your son might not listen. You know, some of these guys, you got to realize he grown up there. He didn't have to listen, but he respected me enough, and he respected the situation enough. And Jimmy, you know, I always remind him, that's my name you got, son. I gave you that name. So respect that name. So now you can go, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
Another question that you can ask.
Okay.
And this is someone that, because everybody that's on scholarship doesn't feel it can happen to them. But it happens to somebody every single year. Under what conditions or circumstances do you typically redshirt a player? Ask the coach, under what conditions or circumstances do you typically redshirt a player? Because nobody thinks that happens to them, unless you go in and have a season-ending surgery or something and only play less than 7 games or less or something like that. But in basketball it is. Ask about that, because sometimes you can see the red shirt coming a mile away, and then there's a lot of situations. I remember there was a situation, true story, back shortly after the millennium turned around in 2004, something like that. That was a star player from out of Houston that went to University of Houston.
Okay.
That was Lanny Smith. Lanny Smith was chasing knee injuries since high school. Chasing knee injuries. He had surgery and was expected to sit out the season to get a red shirt. You know, we can come back because Lanny had enough height at 6'3" to play, you know, to chase his hoop dream and keep it a reality, because he was a good locker room guy. He was had good leadership tendencies and whatnot. And we're going to get our guest in just a second. So what it does, midway through the season, toward the end of the season they had no chance of, didn't look like they was going to win conference or make the dance. The coach forced Lanny Smith to return. Lanny didn't want to return. He didn't feel his body wasn't telling him he was ready to return. And once again, he thought, the whole family thought this was going to be a red shirt year. Forced him to return. And these are the type of things that, like I said, if you don't ask that coach, under what conditions do you typically red shirt players? You know, and those are just questions. But meanwhile, we're talking grassroots basketball. We're talking college recruiting. We're going to talk the whole scope of what's going on with the pandemic, and when will the ball start back bouncing in the gymnasiums. And guess what? No better person to do that with than the person we have joining us right now on the Chop Shop. We have out of the San Antonio area, we have Lupe Nunez, who represents the Texas Hard Work Grassroots program, sponsored in part by Under Armour. What's going on, Lupe?
What's good, Jimmy? How are you?
Alan, you see, he got the camera position to catch the left side of his shirt. On his right by his left lapel.
I got something for him. I'm going to put a mark up there.
You know, Hatter, Jimmy hits me yesterday, and you know, he starts off with Baby Friday, so I'm assuming he's inviting me to El Tiempo for today. You know, I was assuming that's why he was reaching out, but I didn't.
I can't mess with y'all at El Tiempo. Hey, Lupe, have you ever noticed that I'm always absent from El Tiempo?
I've noticed that.
I don't like the food, but they told me y'all don't go there for the food. Y'all go there for something else.
The chips and salsa.
Yes. Yeah. No, the margaritas. Jimmy hey, y'all. Let me tell you, I'm finna tell it on you. Man, it don't make no sense, man. Y'all see my hands? The thing be that big, man, and they be drinking them. What is wrong with y'all?
Hydrating.
Yeah, there's, there's,
That's
Luke, Luke, hey man, guess what, man? So I mean, welcome you to the Chop Shop. The Chop Shop with us.
Thank you.
Dive right into it. We're talking about, of course, Texas hard work. Explain to the people that program, where that program is based, how long it's been in existence, and how you guys went about landing a sponsorship from a sneaker conglomerate.
Sure. So this is, I believe, our 11th year now. We started off with just two teams. The 2018 class, right? That was our first team. Those kids are now sophomores in college. That was kind of our first class. And we had a younger group, which actually is the class that I started coaching, the 2021 class. And from there, it kind of expanded. The 2018 class was pretty talented. That was that class with DJ Peavy, who graduated there from Dekaney, Gerald Liddell from that's now at University of Texas, Tristan Green, who's at I believe now at the University of Denver. And actually, when those kids were 15U, we played on the EYBL circuit under the D1 Shooters umbrella. And it was then that, I think we kind of got our name out there a little bit. We had some San Antonio kids, some Houston kids, and some Dallas kids, and kind of allowed us to go into different markets. We are based out of San Antonio, as most people do know. And from there, we had a kind of a great conversation with the time was Nick Blatchford, who was the head of Grassroots basketball, and Hanif Hill, who's now the head of Grassroots basketball. And they kind of actually we met in Austin. And so we met in a hotel, and, one conversation led to the other, and, they offered us a contract, and it was hard to turn that down. As like I said before, we were always kind of our own program. We went under a small umbrella for one season and kind of wanted to call our own shots. When you've been having your own program, it's really hard to go under someone else and kind of follow their lead when you might have different visions of how maybe you should be recruiting and developing kids for the next level.
And so now getting that deal, landing that deal, that enabled that particular area at the time, that ASAC area, to a just a plenty of exposure.
No doubt.
So what has changed since having a sneaker sponsored program in that area?
I think it's, we're always the little brother, right? I mean, you've got Houston, you've got Dallas, and it's everyone continues to say, San Antonio don't have basketball players. And we do, for the most part, and I'm the first to tell you now, Jimmy, you and I have had these conversations before. Can we field a team full of 10 high major kids out of the city of San Antonio? And the word is absolutely no. We cannot. There's not enough volume of talent, right? Of good DNA, I'm going to go ahead and say that. And so what it's allowed us to do, it's allowed people the kids that we do have here that are high major, low major, mid major, Division I basketball players and Division II players for that are on rosters. It's allowed the country to take notice that we do have players, but it's also allowed us to extend our reach into other markets, and put them within our program and help them, expand and looking forward to getting them to the next level.
Adam, you got something real quick?
No, I just, I'm just thankful, Jimmy. I'm watching this. We sat down and talked about this, and we just talked about we're going to launch this series every Thursday, every Baby Friday, and we're going to talk to the different grassroots directors, the people who are in charge of each program. I jumped at it, and because let me tell you something, it's a lot of parents and a lot of kids need to hear from the guys with the vision, and it's just a great opportunity for I'm just watching your vision, Jimmy, what you're doing, just another layer that now you're doing to add to helping educate our young people and their parents in that summer basketball thing. It's a crazy business, and and what a guy to start it off with Loopy. So I just wanted to share that with you, Loopy. That
Appreciate it.
man, we appreciate you. I've watched you from afar. I watched you from up close, and you're just working, just like the rest of the programs are. Got some. Let me tell you something. I saw where you sent a bit. This is what I like, Loopy. I saw, and you can expand on this one. Um, on your social media, you you know, like I think you told me y'all missed 5 tournaments, and you put each kid that's on your team, and you put their accomplishments, and you put their and I mean, I wouldn't have known this if you hadn't put it on social media. So tell me what went into that.
You know, we live in a time right now with social media that it's the world we live in, right? And whether, you know, I'm an old school guy, right? So I'm not, can't say I'm a huge social media fan, but it's the time we live in, and you either get with the times or you got to get out of the game, right?
Okay.
And so these kids love to be seen. They love to see themselves, whether we like it or not, and we agree with it or not. Kids love to see themselves. They put in the work. For the ones who love the process more than they love the results are the ones that tend to gravitate towards the top a little bit more than the other ones who say they love it. And I guess I didn't put it on Do Not Disturb, so sorry about that. So because of that, and you got to acknowledge kids. You know, I think the ones who've reached the goals and accomplishments that they've set forth with their parents, their family, their trainers, ourselves, you know, and to let people like that, you know, the kid you see in the gym has put in the work, and somebody outside of ourselves is recognizing them. I think it's important for others to know that.
Indeed. And now I've got a question. Approximately in the ASAC area, which is Austin, San Antonio, Killeen, right? And
Yes,
about, if you had to guess, 3 years, just say 2 years to make it safe for you. Or hell, just let's go right now. How many Division I signees in boys basketball would you say this in the class of 2020? Right now, that approximately that you guys have produced?
I'm going to say probably less than, I would say 10 or less. I mean, I know right now, city of San Antonio, I think there is 3 2020s that have signed Division I. I think last year, 2019, there might have been 3 or 4. You know, I actually had a conversation with Tim Littlefield on this a couple of weeks ago. And I'm, you know, I think 7 or 8 Division I players was the most that was signed out of San Antonio in the last 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the number Tim came up with. And then you probably 8 or 10, you know, 7 to 8. So you can probably add ASAC in there, right? So that whole area, I think a good year is maybe 12 to 15. An average year is probably 8 to 10, and a down year 6 to 8. And
so here's what I get. So you're the only sneaker sponsored program or not from that area?
In San Antonio, yes. I mean, we had Yes to Success. They were on the Adidas circuit a couple of years ago, and they had Charles Bassey and a couple of those guys. I think they were on there 1 year on the Gauntlet. I believe they're a gold or whatever the other series that Adidas has.
But they're no longer sponsored by a sneaker program, right?
I don't know if they're sponsored or not. I just don't know. I know they're not on the Gauntlet, the top circuit.
Yeah, and are they not? And so now here's the thing. I want to give you guys put these numbers in front of you so you understand something. In Greater Houston right now, there's approximately 25, 26 Division I signees, right? And put this in comparison. However, there's one sneaker team representing that ASAC area. So if it's 10 Division I's, 8 to 10, that means they are being depended on because they are the red ant in the ant bed of ASAC, Austin, San Antonio, Killeen. You're expected to get how many of those 8 to 10 if there's 8 to 10?
Man, we go after all 8 to 10.
Okay.
Right? You
Okay.
know, now are we going to get all 8 to 10? No, I mean, that's like, you know, you have to go after them. I mean, that's the game we're in.
That means pretty much every Division I senior, in this example,
sure,
in every Division I player, you could not only go after them, but if all of them committed to you, you could say, come on, suit up, and they all would play.
That's
From your
correct.
city,
Yes, that's
right?
correct.
Houston, you can't have 26 players on one team.
No.
Now, understand this. Let's cut this pile up. There was 3 sneaker programs this past summer in Houston for the 17U. That's what we measure everything with, is the 17U. Like in high school, yeah, they have a JV, they have a varsity. I mean, they have a sophomore team and a freshman team, but you measure it by your varsity. Well, 17U has the Houston Hoops, Houston Defenders, Team Harden. Those were the only 3 17Us. So if you have approximately 26 Division Ones, that's about 8. That the pie could be sliced up to today. That don't mean they're gonna get those 8, but they have enough room to go and field and all be competitive enough to have 8 Division Ones. Now it don't always go like that. It ain't gonna always go like that. Because you're going to have other teams that come along, as we had yesterday. We had Coos Elite, we mentioned PJ Kuznar. They have about a half dozen Division Ones off of his non-sneaker program. Well, technically they are sponsored, but we're getting that on another day.
Right.
But you have people that will have 1 or 2 and 3 or 4 here and there. My point is, in your area, do you guys, you have always been compatible with a lot of the sneaker teams in the DFW and Greater Houston, and 1 through 5 is gonna be 1 through 5. Right. But your 6 through 9 is what keeps it in game, because it's gonna be a drop because of the depleted talent. There's so many mouths to feed in those Houston, Dallas areas, not as much in your area. Is that correct? Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
And so now in the sneaker business, explain to us, you're under the Under Armour umbrella. There are different layers of the sponsorship, right? Explain to us what they are, and because everybody is out there taunting, we are sponsored. Tell us what actually means, define that, this level of sponsorship.
Sure, and people take a spin on it. Let's be honest, right? So for Under Armour, there's 24 teams in the country that are sponsored by Under Armour. There's 2 in the state of Texas, the Houston Defenders, which is Aaron Harris and Larry, who run that program, and then of course us, based out of San Antonio. Then we have what's called a UA Rise circuit. I can't tell you the exact number of teams. I want to say maybe 36 teams, maybe, right, around the country. So what the UA Rise is we basically took like a Gasol model, right? So you've got some kids that the Gasol does have Division I basketball players that are on there, and you could take, maybe there's not enough room in all the shoot teams, right? So like Coos Elite, for example, they've done an amazing job as an independent. That is a UA Rise team, right? So, and not every UA Rise team is treated the same, just like not every 24 teams on our circuit's treated the same. It's not, it's just like the talent wins, right? You got players, they're going to look at you a little bit different. Just like, college coaches call me not because they like me. They call me because I have players. Let's be honest, right? And so I get that. So at the end of the day, the UA Rise is a level that's below the UA circuit, the top 24 teams. Mm-hmm. They do play in the same building as we do, so they get to take advantage of the same coaches that are in that gym. I'm gonna talk about my 17s really quick to kind of give you an idea, right? So last year we were super young. We had a freshman, 3 sophomores that started with one junior, right? So we had a couple of kids that were two that signed Division II, 2 kids that signed Division II, right? So being that the UA Rise teams are in the same facility, right, and a lot of them might have only 1 or 2 Division I players and a lot of Division II and NAI kids, those coaches were allowed to go in the gym. So it helped my 17s particularly last year, because I had some low major Division II players that maybe if it would only been high major coaches there, they wouldn't have got those same opportunities, right? So the UA Rise is just a level below. They do have college kids. They're free kids, but are they fully sponsored? The answer is no. Do some of them maybe get a 1 or 2 set of free uniforms? Absolutely, right? So now they might take that and say, oh, I'm fully sponsored. So it's how they spin it. So you got to be careful. Yeah. So do people spin it? Absolutely. They are. They're going to do that.
Have you experienced teams in your area to claim sponsorship?
You know what? It's funny. Middle school teams. I can't tell you how many people screenshot and say, "Hey, man, is this middle school team?" I mean, ain't nobody sponsoring no damn middle school team. Y'all stop.
Repeat
Shit,
that.
there's nobody sponsoring no damn middle school team. Shit, they didn't sponsor LeBron's son's middle school team. Clyde Jackson did. There's a difference. They weren't sponsored by Nike. He was sponsored by Clyde Jackson. I mean, that's the facts. No one. So yes, you'll get some guys that all of a sudden they get 40% off of gear and they want to call themselves sponsored. Shit, Jimmy, you get 50% off Nike, I think. I know you got your own sponsorship. So
hey, that percentage is way lower than that. I'm just letting you know. It's way lower than 50%. Hey, way lower. But you know what, Loopy, I got a couple of questions. When you got to understand, it's a lot of men has been asking questions, but when a woman asks a question, I put her in the front of the line, right?
Oh God.
So Angie Holcomb, bless her little heart. Hold up, she always getting on me, Loopy. But so guess what? I'm putting her in the front of the line. She said, fortunately, not unfortunately, she said, fortunately, the UA Rise teams were allowed to play some UA Gold teams during the live period last July. That
is
helped
correct.
when coaches were watching. What's she talking about?
So we had in Atlanta, you had to qualify for the finals, right? So because of that, the teams who didn't qualify, you get guaranteed games, right? So if you go to Atlanta, you're going to get your games on, was it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday through Sunday, whatever the period was last season. I can't remember. So if you lose Saturday and you're out, you can no longer go to the finals. It's not pack your stuff up and go home, right? You got to give these kids the most opportunities you can to play in front of coaches because you're there and coaches want to see players. So you might have taken, a UAA sponsored team and then they would have matched them up against a UA Rise team. Yes, that's correct. And do some UA Rise teams beat the UAA teams? Yes, they do. I mean, I can't tell you how many people ask me that question. Doesn't mean they're going to get a UAA deal. They don't understand that. It's a lot more to it. It's players, and as well as guys, it's relationships. You got to have relationships where people are going to trust you're going to do what you say you're going to do for the long term, not just the one season that you got a couple of players that can beat a UAA team. It's you have to be able to withstand the storm 3, 4, 5 to 10 years where people really look at you and say, you know what, that guy knows what he's doing. He might have a down year because we all have down years. I mean, we made the finals of UAA last year. I think we finished top 8, and it was a down year for us. I mean, because we were so young. But if we wouldn't have made it, they weren't going to look at me and say, shoot, Lupe, we're going to have to go give your deal to somebody else, right? You have to look at the talent of all programs across the board, what they've done previously, what they have in the program, and having the confidence in that particular program to continue to move forward with those type of players.
I learned that, Jimmy. I'm glad you said that. A lot of people do not understand. Man, but we got players. We beat the Houston Hoop. We beat. Hal Paston had a relationship with them people before you were born, son.
That's right.
You follow me? And when I talked to Nike, and when I talked to them about that and how important that is, yeah, you got to have players, but they rather not give you a team and give your players to their team. That's what they like. Because
it's like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. You more important.
It's like the 16 seed beating the 1 seed. Whoever beat Virginia that year, they didn't give them the coach's head job. That head coach from the 16 seed didn't get the 1 seed coach's head job. I mean, come on. It happens. If it happens at the NCAA tournament with guys who prepare for 10 months, right, where you see a lot of the low major, mid majors beating some of the high major with 4 or 5 stars, it happens. So it's not the end all be all, and I beat that team, I should have that shoe deal. No, it doesn't work that way. And it's a big misconception, and I'm not mad at the program directors and coaches who beat a shoe team because they're trying to do what's best for their kids. I'm not mad at them. I've lost them before, and they're like, man, I should have your deal. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure everybody feels that way. Okay, whatever. It doesn't bother me, because they're supposed to feel that way. They're supposed to walk in that gym with their kids they've trained and coached and said, shit, I'm going to go whoop his ass. That's how I feel. I don't give a damn who it is. I mean, that's just our mentality.
This for you, Lupe, right here. I like that one. I like that.
Hey, we're only 2 days removed from Cinco de Mayo. Don't play them type of sound effects. Lupe gonna mess around, start getting shots going on over there. Don't do him like that, Hal. Don't do it to him. I'm telling you. So I got a question now. In that scenario, you just mentioned about how some programs will beat the sneaker sponsor program, and then they'll have a parade, which is supposed to, but then they'll feel that they should have your deal. Then they will send emails out, send the footage out, start making calls to the administration of the sneaker company saying, look what we did to your program. Now, does that serve, or is that one of the ingredients and one of the reasons why a lot of the sneaker sponsor programs often grown to shy away from playing their local counterparts that are unsponsored?
It's a great question. I think more from a recruiting aspect in their area than them scared of losing their deal, right? Because it's like I said, it's players and relationships. Ain't nobody even reading them damn emails. That shit goes straight to spam. So unless you know someone at a corporation that's got a say in what happens, you're wasting your damn time. I'm just being honest with you. However, where a lot of people shy away from it is if I'm playing a local San Antonio team and they're saying, hey man, you got all the D1 high majors and we got a bunch of D2s and I just beat you, right? So maybe their number one guy might be my number 7 guy, right? And that might be difficult for me to go get the 7th, 8th guy now because that team maybe just beat me and he's going to have leverage over that recruiting speech, excuse me. That's really, in my opinion, where it affects you more than anything else. In your local, the chop shop, right? You're going to have some guys that beat if somebody beats one of the shoe teams, they're going to want to get on the show and say, man, I'll whoop the whoever's ass or butt and, all the time, right? That don't mean a damn thing. Other than it means that when they can sit in the living room of a parent and say, hey man, I beat team A, he should come play for me because I'm a better coach and a better program. Whether parents believe it or not, that's, that's a whole different week of conversation when it comes to parents.
Jimmy, could you please find Stacey Houston's question and answer?
Let me look it up. Meanwhile, Ronnie asked Lupe, it's a simple A or B.
Who's Ronnie?
Ronnie Fernandez, right? Ronnie asked a question. A, he's trying to figure it out. I guess he's experimenting somewhere at home. Tito's and water. B, Tito's and soda.
Oh, Tito's and water. Oh, Tito's, hold on, like regular water? Oh, no, I don't drink tonic water. It's just Tito's and just regular bottled water. That's it.
I got the question from Stacey. Stacey, you guess what? On this Chop Shop, them questions come fast and furious, and yours just kept going. Let me show you. He said, Lupe, can you get me a UA merch deal? Excuse me, a UA merch event deal.
Merch.
Merchandise.
Merch.
Event deal.
Stacey crazy. I talk to Stacey all the time, man.
I know
Stacey
you
wrong
do.
for that. He's wrong for that.
Okay, I got you. That must be an inside joke. Okay.
Now, it's good. Now we got a bunch of.
Oh no. He's real now, but it is an inside joke. He ain't lying.
he won't the deal for real.
Yeah, yes.
What else you got, Jim?
Now, we got a whole bunch of. We got a lot of questions. Backlog. Let's spit these questions one at a time, Adam. Okay. Now, let's go. I'm gonna go. Then you go. Then we'll go back in time. We got a bunch of them backlog for you, Luke. One, Melvin asked, is there an amount of money requested by a sponsored team that will give you a good idea the team isn't fully sponsored?
All shoe teams are fully sponsored, right? Now, what fully means, whether all that money, merchandise is a whole different conversation. Everybody gets merchandise. That's a whole deal. It's talking about greenbacks, right? How much moolah you get, how much money you get, and that varies from program to program. So because program A gets X and program B gets X, I can't. It's hard to answer because a lot of these people don't realize a lot of these programs also do have sponsors, right? You can always, Jim, you know this. You go look at the team. So that's sponsor kid. Everybody know who the sponsor kid is on the shoe team. Right, so you know what?
The dads they got the private jet,
or the private buses, or whatever the case may be, right? So it's hard to answer that question because it varies from program to program.
I got one for you. What goes into your recruiting, of players, and how and just how do you recruit? What goes into your recruiting of players, and how do you recruit them?
Not every player can play in our program. I'm the first to tell you that, right? So it's a certain type of kid we go after and a certain type of kid we recruit, right? And a certain type of parent, because parents are very, very important, that they have to understand what we're trying to do for their child. And as long as we're all on the same page, so it's someone that believes in what we've done before. We've got a track record of putting kids in college. We're super transparent in what we do and how we do it. And if they're on board with that, great. That's the kind of kid we want. And if not, right, if they're, we have a saying, talent equals tolerance. If you ain't that talented, I ain't dealing with your shit. It's pretty simple.
Come on, Loopy.
There you go.
Come on,
hey, say it with your chest then. Next question is from Jeremy, and he asked Loopy, how has this epidemic affected his program? And will your program take part in some events this summer?
Great question. Hatter and I talked about this earlier today when he was in his pajamas setting me up. So I think that for us, I'm in a unique situation, right? Our 17U has 3 kids that are committed, right? I got 3 committed kids. I have another kid that's from Houston, Ramon Walker, who, right now has several offers.
Oh, man.
We got a kid who's a sophomore. He's, I'd say irrelevant, but, he still has another year. And so I was in a unique position where I've got 2 kids that we need to get some scholarships for, which I think they're going to be fine. So until the NCAA comes out and says, we're going to play an event in whatever it is, right? Everybody's assuming it's going to be late August and September, right? So I think we're all wishful more than assuming. At that point, then we'll set our schedule based on that. I don't see the risk is worth the reward for me. I'm just speaking for our program, right? For me personally, for me to go take a group of kids, put them in a van or a bus, and go play in an event for the riders, like, the Jimmys, the Dougs, all the sports writer, Alan Branches, the Anis of the world, and talk about kids, especially the ones that have offers, because these coaches need to see them with their own eyes. I know it because I talk to them. All this, Jimmy can write all he wants to write about it, and yes, they're going to take Jimmy's word because, he don't lie to him. But at some point, they're going to want to see them. And until we know that's a fact, it's hard for me to take any kids to any events. And all this live streaming shit they've been telling me about, I ain't into that. It's like, and so the NCAA say they're going to come watch my kids. I'm not setting anything up as far as the schedule goes.
And now you have it. Hatter, your turn.
Okay. Todd, Todd, do me a favor, address your question, because I did not see it. And I took a picture of this one, though. Melvin Dew said, does Lupe recruit Houston with the defenders already under the umbrella, or is Houston, or is it just a stronger survive? Do you recruit Houston? Well, you just said Ramon Walker's on your team. So since you have a Under Armour team here already,
sure,
do you recruit Houston? That's the question.
That's a great question. So me and Aaron have a great relationship. I'll reach out to Aaron, say, hey, this kid's from Houston. He reached out to me. Are you recruiting him? It's a yes or no if he is. So like Ramon Walker, right? So me and David President have a personal relationship. He went to UTSA. I think when I was in graduate school, he got to UTSA. So we go all the way back then, right? So he and I are very close. He told me last year to come see a kid that was an unsigned senior, and I ended up falling in love with Ramon Walker. Nobody knew who he was. I told Doug a year and a half ago that kid will be the best 21 in the city of Houston. Now, am I biased? You damn right I am, but I just truly believe that. So as far as am I going just dead blind into Houston? No. It's going to be based off a relationship. If I know someone who reaches out, I reach out to Aaron. Aaron says, you know what? No, we're not messing with the kid. There was one this year. There was a kid who reached out to me, and I saw Aaron at the director's meeting and say, heard of this kid? He goes, yeah. He goes, I've talked to the parents already. I said, cool. Done. Hit the kid, said, hey, man, you got to go speak with Mr. Harrison, and I kept them moving.
And I mean, it's one of the things that a lot of the sneaker lines doesn't have the same magnitude of communication between brother programs under the same sneaker umbrella from neighboring cities of various parts of the state. The relationship is not the same amongst everybody. And
I got it, Jimmy. I got Todd's.
You found it?
You want to go?
Well, we have another one right here,
okay.
And that is if they, let me see, piggybacking off of the previous question, let's say you mentioned the NCAA, you're waiting on the NCAA to hit the hammer. If, just say, entertaining the thought, and also this is one of the questions that's asked by one of the viewers, if they opened up everything, let's say this weekend, how long does it think do you think it would take for your kids to be ready to play? And are you keeping in contact with your players?
You know, I think a minimum of 3 weeks so nobody gets hurt, right? I mean, safety first, right? So let's say they open it up on Monday, right? And we're going to play, let's say we're going to play July. Let's say just keep July open, right? Let's just assume that July's playing, right? So I think then we would play our first event. You know, if Memorial Day weekend is 3 weeks from now, Memorial Day weekend would be the first event we play in. We bring the kids in, you know, we train them or get them back together. And our kids have been working out. They send them Zoom videos of what they're doing, et cetera. But it's not the same. You know, it's great stuff. They're going to the parks, getting shots up, working out in the garages, whatever the case is. But nobody's leaning on you. You're playing against furniture. You know, let's be honest, right? So you need live bullets coming at you. And so you can get, I think, a good 2 weeks of the kids getting up and down, because the last thing you want to do is rush a kid out there and he gets hurt, you know, and then now what? Now we're all staring at each other saying, damn, did we rush this too fast?
Well, you sounded like Adam Silver around here. But,
there you go with that shit.
He's saving money. That's what he's doing.
I got something for you. Todd. Todd wanted to ask this question. So hold on. Todd Holmes. Hold on, Todd. I got you, baby. Ask Lupe, how was the recruiting process different as a parent from his normal coaching aspect, since he's on both sides of the fence?
You know, it's still early in the process, you know, so it's still early. I mean, I communicate with coaches, we talk, right? And for me, you know, I can see through the bullshit, you know. So it's either, you know, I tell them straight out, you ain't got to call and ask about my kid if you're recruiting another kid. He's going to go to school for free, so I'm not worried about that. So if you're calling for the big kid Vince, then call, you know, let's talk about Vince. You know, if you're calling for, you know, Ramon Walker, let's talk about Ramon Walker. And there's several coaches I have great relationships that have not offered my kid, and that have zero problem with that. I know how to separate the parent from the program and the difference. I don't get caught up into that, because at the end of the day, I can't save his ass. You got to play between the lines. Shit, it's on to him. My job is like every other kid. We get them prepared. We prepare them. We provide a platform, and he got to perform between the lines. And if you don't, shit, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, you guys are getting it. Lupe is putting it where the goats can get it. I would, in the words of Joe Madison. And we have the questions. Feel free, guys, to continue posting your questions on either the Facebook or the YouTube feed. We're streaming live on both platforms. If you're on YouTube, go ahead on, and I'm doing it right now myself. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube page. If you're on the Facebook,
yes,
and take out the time right now to share the show with your family and friends. Share it with your timelines. And there's somebody that can get some nuggets that we are talking about, that Lupe Nunez is presenting right now. He's with the Texas Hard Work Grassroots program, and that is a program that is sponsored by Under Armour. One of only, 3 in the state?
2 in the state, 24 in the country.
20, only 24 in the entire
and we
United
got 2 of them in the state.
And we have 2 in the state. Why isn't it we're not one in DFW this year?
You know, it's a great question. It's a market that we're looking into hard and strong. I do foresee that, you know, coming in next year that with all likelihood, right, that there will be a program for sure within the next 2 years in DFW. There's no doubt. That's the next market that we're going into.
Lupe, what is they talking about you be cussing in the huddle? They talking about you be cussing, Lupe?
No, it sounds like.
Oh, it sounds.
The coach that goes in the huddle.
Oh.
There'll be a lot of things said in that huddle, trust me.
See, I didn't know that. Okay, I got to watch that a little closer there now.
So now, Lupe, in regards to your program, when things do resume, what do you guys plan to do in the immediately upon returning with the Texas Hard Work team? Let's say you're one of your team. What's going to be different now? because I know this thing is going to be really tricky, and that's another conversation I was waiting to have out, and we'll probably get into it next week or so with some grassroots coaching. That is, there are a lot of programs, and parents never ask this question, and I think you should, especially the parents. It don't matter if your team is sponsored or not. How many kids do you sleep assigned per room? To how many beds per room? That way, if my son is FaceTiming me or calling me, and I know it shouldn't be more than that, kids gonna get up in the room and play a little video game. But when it comes time to sleep and you call in the morning, your parents be surprised. But now with the pandemic, you can't have no 6 kids in no one room no more.
Who put 6 kids in a room, Jimmy?
A lot of teams up there, they do it like sardines.
I ain't never seen that.
Wow.
What?
I haven't seen it.
What, middle school?
I didn't say it.
What you putting 6th, 3rd graders in there?
No, I'm talking about the younger kids. Not many. I've seen the larger kids. I've seen 5. I've seen 2 on each bed, one on the couch.
Right.
But then once again, do you guys have you figured out your steps, your safety measure that you will implement when you're traveling or when you're with your program, if and when you do resume playing?
Right. Yeah, and that's a great question. We have, I've jotted down a lot of notes and kind of have a plan when we do go back, right? And it's travel, right? Do we want to get on a plane first and foremost, right? Let's talk about that. I do believe if it does come back, does it stay regionally, right? So, okay, regional means I don't have to get on a plane. That means I got to get on. We take 1 15 passenger. Maybe now we have to take 4 for 16 and 17U, right? For, or 2 per, right? Or some parents, I'm going to usually we make the kids all come with us. The parents might feel safer. Hey, I'll drive my child. So all of those things, definitely are something that we're getting in front of. Practicing, even when this all broke down, it was a state tournament, Jimmy. I know you were coming that day or the day before you and I spoke. And that's what usually we bring all our kids in. That's our first time we practice, first time we get together. We bring the kids in from all over the state. I mean, it was big sanitizing. It was like no shaking hands, no daps, none of that. Every time we took a water break, it was go wash your hands, come back, sanitize the balls. So there's a lot of, it's changing before us. I think even looking forwards to whatever events you play in, what precautionary measures are they taking? Are they just letting people in the door to try to make up the money that they lost this past 90 days, right? Because there's some guys who this is how they pay rent, and I'm not mad at them for it. It's a business. I get it. But who's going to cut back on their expenses to make up for their losses, right? And by that, I mean, are you going to cut back on the safety measures? Are you going to cut back on the quality of refs? There's going to be a lot of cutbacks. Right. So it'll be real interesting to see some of the events leading up to the live period when it is announced, if we have a live period.
Man, this thing is really going to be spooky because of the fact that, as you just mentioned, a lot of the cutbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having a lot of cutbacks, and that means you're getting lesser of the value of the product.
That's right.
And you're charging the same. And I've heard whispers that some people may even increase their prices. Some people may even increase their dues, DUES, because they're saying to the parents, we have to use this to buy the sanitizing equipment for when we have practices and on and before and after games, whatnot.
Right.
So that means you're talking. On one hand, you're as you just hinted to, that could be a possible decrease in the product for a higher rate. That ain't good.
That ain't bad rate. That's called a return. That's called a return on investment, and it's bad.
Hold on, Loopy. You sanitize the ball. Leather balls they're gonna be wet.
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
I heard when Jimmy you made me think about sanitizing, right? You said
so it's the wipes. It's the wipes, right? Like those Clorox wipes. You just wipe the ball down. Wipe the ball
up. Right. Then you got to let the ball dry because it's going to be wet. Ball going to be wet.
Yeah. I think usually it used to be 90-minute breaks. It was like a 3 to 5 minute break now, right? Because go wash your hands, put sanitizer on, give us time to to wipe the balls down. So it's a 5-minute break between whatever we're doing instead of a 90-second break.
You know what I'm just thinking about? I'm thinking about Adam Silver, and I've always give him Loopy. Like we always give him his due. Adam Silver. He went to. You know what though? I'm watching baseball. I'm watching the UFC. What's the guy who's over UFC?
Dana White.
Dana White. Those guys, dude, in times like this, you got to have generals like Schwarzkopf. And, maybe you got to have somebody. Adam Silver's a little weak. And I'm going to tell you about he's coming off weak right now. Because these guys, Dana White said, I got 1,000 tests. I'm going to use them. The reason the NBA is held up right now, Loopy, Adam Silver said they need 15,000 tests to start this thing. And he don't want to upset the apple cart that the public image and Twitter and all of them getting mad because the NBA, because you remember they got flack from the OKC, from Utah being in OKC being able to get those tests immediately.
Right.
And then Mayor de Blasio up there in New York, they shamed the Players Association and Adam Silver. So he got to get some kahunas, man, and say, look here, man, we need these 15,000 tests. We gonna buy them. See, what he's worried about taking away from the general public, he really ain't worried about that. He worried about the backlash of this stuff happening. And I'm watching Roger Goodell, because they got mad at Roger Goodell for having a draft and having free agency. Get what he said? Man, forget them people on Twitter. We're going to have free agency and we're going to have the draft. Roger Goodell, Adam Silver, we know you're friends of the players. We know you're friends. But, man, you got to start saying stuff with your chest, man. And forget these Twitter trolls. Everybody, even Jimmy, even we got trolls. The Chop Shop got trolls. So guess what? Do you think we care? Get the, I want to say it, get out of here with that mess. Huh?
What you want to say?
I ain't going to say it. You ain't going to say it. You ain't. But my pastor might be listening. But let me tell you something. Loopy, I understand, but somebody got to be daring. I'm not saying risk, but
nobody wants to be the first one.
Yes. You see what
Nobody
baseball
wants to be
did?
the first one.
You see what baseball did, didn't you? Manfred said, hold on. We finna have free spring training in June. I don't care how they playing baseball. They playing baseball over there in Taiwan, in South Korea. We about to play some baseball over here.
Only 20. Damn. We had there's 60,000. What a stadium holds? 60,000. Only about 10,000 watch baseball anyway until October. So it might not matter for them. Look at the stands.
But it's so many games. That money add up, man. Hey, me and Jimmy went to the game. Hold up, y'all. They gonna stop letting Jimmy. They gonna start searching Jimmy. Jimmy gonna bring some peanuts and everything in the game. But when I found out, when he showed me how much them peanuts and them drinks cost, they robbing y'all at the man. From now on, I'm having, dude. You can go have you a dinner at Vic and Anthony's, Jimmy, and come to the game instead, because it's right next to the park. Instead of going to that game, boy, it's gonna cost you $200 for some peanuts. But I'm sorry, Luke, I didn't. But Jimmy, I wanted to shout out to the people. I wanted to talk to. If you're new on the air today and never seen this show, we want to hear from you. If you're new, if your first time, please just put your name on the Facebook feed. Say something, because I just want to know who our new people are. And if you follow us on Facebook, or excuse me, if you're friends of us on Facebook, do me a favor. Take your time after the show, or you can do it now. Go to another device, go over to YouTube, and subscribe to Chop Shop HTX. Okay? All right, we had to do a commit. Hey, Jimmy, we got the. I can't tell you the story. But we got to get used to stopping and giving commercials, Jimmy, because we had a little news yesterday that something else might happen, and it's not the radio, it's the TV. So we had some news. So we got to practice stopping at a certain time. So y'all just be patient with us, because Jimmy and I can go on and on and on. But
no, Negro, you can go on and on.
I see Jimmy looking for a timeout. I think Jimmy wants to call timeout.
No. Coach, no. But you gotta understand. When he get one of y'all on here, this Grassroots in here, he just want to go on and on. Hey, I'm gonna do like him. He used to put me on a timer. You see, I got that timer on him up there. But I just wanted to share that. Y'all gotta understand. I want to talk to our people, and because if without those people in the boom boom room, it wouldn't be no us. So shout out to the boom boom room today. So what else you got over there, Jim?
Oh, getting back with Lupe Nunez. Lupe, we have questions for more questions to present to you. And Rodney asked, what school does your son attend, and what grade level is he? Because you mentioned, Howard mentioned earlier question. I guess that's where he got the question from. That comes from my YouTube feed.
Cornerstone. He played at Cornerstone Christian as a sophomore in high school.
And another question is somebody has for you. I guess that must be an event operator, and they ask you, which you actually host an event every year in the Grassroots season as well. What's the status of that event? That'll be one question. And plus, also, here's the question that precedes that. If you have already committed verbally to an event that was postponed due to the pandemic, and a quote unquote higher grade tournament rescheduled from another weekend to the same weekend that this event that you committed to, how should you or any Grassroots program handle that? If you've already gave your word, you're going somewhere, but in another larger event, now that everything's been rescheduled and the deck has been shuffled, then also how are you handling your own event that was scheduled this summer? So
our event's canceled. It was scheduled for next weekend, right? So it's canceled till next year, right? We're not going to go back and reschedule anything. And I'm going to go where I said I'm going to go. I said I'm coming to your event. I'm coming to your event. At the end of the day, the only ones that really truly matter are the ones that got coaches sitting there. And I can't emphasize that more than anything else. All we're doing is preparing ourselves and preparing the kids to play in front of coaches. Are some events better than others because you get to play against better talent? They are. But I go back to the first thing. It's about relationships. I told you, Jimmy, when people were, a couple people were bailing out a little bit early and they're a little nervous. I said, "He's still coming. Hell, I don't know who the hell we're going to play, but we're coming. We'll figure it out when we get there." So, yeah, so I wouldn't. That's a great question. I can't speak on anybody else, and I'm going to use as the Gasso, right? They're one of the bigger circuits outside the shoe circuits because they have numerous events all year. If I'm committed to a local event in Houston or Dallas and the Gasso's got a larger event going on and it was already on my schedule, then I'm going to go where I said I was going to go.
And of course, want to get and ask you another question Melvin asked, who are your top 5 players that you've had in your program, or period, your top 5, right. Your starting 5. That's what we would call it.
Wow. So Gerald Liddell.
Okay, Liddell.
Jamias Ramsey. Micah Peavy.
Okay.
Jalen Jackson.
Okay.
Man, and this is a tough one between 2, right? I'm just going off the top of my head real quick. I'm gonna have to go 1A, 1B, and in no particular letter. Langston Love, KJ Adams.
And now, what happened with KJ?
Man, it's happened as where he's at.
Yeah, somebody asked a question earlier, and I saw the question. I'm just repeating it. They said, "What happened to KJ?" I guess I don't know. Did something happen?
No, okay. He's still around as far as I know.
I'm just making sure that somebody said I saw that question specifically earlier. Now, I'm reading some of the Boom Boom Room. Now, Luke, if there was something that you could change about Grassroots basketball, what would it be?
Ooh, it's a loaded question. I would say the business side of it, and it's a business, right? If I don't have players, I don't have a contract, and that goes for everybody else. So I think there's some things done between adults, right? Between programs, whether it's lying or, whatever the case is, to try to get kids or grab kids from somebody else, et cetera. I think that gives this just such a ugliness to it, and then it's business and there's money involved, right? And you have kids that people will latch onto with the assumption that this kid can become a high school player to a one and done, or now to the G League, and the G League to a pro. And they're going to assume, man, this kid, I'm going to take this kid with me. And man, I've got my lottery ticket. And you guys know, especially you, Hatter, I mean, you've been in the business a long time. How many of those, that's my question. How many of those hanger-oners that were guys who try to grab the kid young are there when it really matters? And here's what they don't understand. It's not the first contract you make money. It's the second contract, right? So, I mean, you got to hang on for a long damn time to try to catch a paycheck with the kid. And I think that probably gives Grassroots just a bad image, because I want to say it's honestly the 3%. 97% of people are really in this for the right reasons. A lot of awesome program directors from all shoe companies, independents across the state and across the country that have great relationships. There's a few couple of guys out there that are definitely in it just for themselves and to see, what can I get out of this kid?
That's I mean, it's unfortunate, but definitely true. I mean, in this business, indeed. Now, Lupe, want to go and want to, before we get ready to land the plane, we have about 5 minutes left. And it was another topic that I wanted to get your thoughts on. And that is, how would you, if you could give some advice to some parents? Because earlier you mentioned that a lot of people will come and advertise or misadvertise themselves as being sponsored. How can a parent troubleshoot or fact check this info? Because if they know this guy and he's sounding so good on this spiel, then they just all they can do. I mean, I'm gonna trust you until I have a reason not to trust you. So, but
right.
How can the person fact check? Meaning that if there's somebody in one of these cities out there that people are watching claim that they are Under Armour sponsored, just we just stick with that.
Sure.
How can they fact check? They don't have to. I mean, give us some tips.
I think first and foremost, try to reach out to whomever that shoe sponsored program is in your area, right? First and foremost. Second, if you're a parent, you have to educate yourself about, there's people in this industry whose voice is heard, and there's people in this industry whose voice is just not heard. They just yapping to yap. They saying stuff, but they really ain't saying shit. And there's others who, when they speak, people listen. And by that, I mean people like yourself in Houston. You've got, people in Dallas. You have people in every major city that college coaches do call, and they ask to say, hey, I want to know about kid A, B, C, and D. So call them, ask them about the program. You have no reason to lie. You're going to say, yeah, you know what, that guy does a good job, but I think, I've seen your kid. I think your kid's a low major player. I think he might be better served off playing on this other program. It's not a knock to the program that might be trying to recruit him, or you might even be able to vouch for that program. So I think it's reaching out to those other shoe companies in that area and asking the questions, and for sure the respected scouts in that area, asking their opinion, because you guys are going to tell them the truth. I know you always do. I mean, you shoot straight from the hip, but people don't like what you say a lot of times, but shit, it is what it is.
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let you know the truth about Santa Claus. That's the difference with me. I
still think he's real.
Yeah, I know him.
Santa Claus was a black man.
His name on my bank account. His name. We got the same name. Now, another question: as a grassroots program, do you have any dialogue with the kids' high school coaches, or do you guys just run your season separate?
It's a good question. I would say probably half and half, 50%. And there's, I think that's one of the biggest problems is between grassroots basketball coaches and high school coaches. I get it. High school coaches' job is to teach, number one. They get a stipend to coach, and they are viewed as wins, district championships, and playoff wins. Nobody gets hired because it sits in front of a superintendent and said, man, I was 7-20 the last 2 years, but man, I had 2 Division I basketball players. They don't give a shit about that. Your ass can't win, you ain't getting a job. And so it's all about that, right? So I think there's a big discord between us grassroots guys and high school basketball players, because me as a parent, Jimmy, it's not my high school coach's job to get my kid to college. I truly believe that. He's going to put my kid and every other kid in a position for him to win district, to win games, and to get to the playoffs. That's his job. I get it. That's not a problem with me. It's my job as a parent that outside of the high school basketball realm, I put him in a situation, and the other kids we have in our program, where they can be seen by college coaches, right? So there are some high school coaches that we do have great relationships with. There's others that, they might not return a call because they feel some type of way. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, I think that's a big issue, though. It really is.
And of course, we was looking at the problem. I wanted to address you guys that, right, as it stands on the Facebook feed, there appears to be some captions.
Talk about that, Jim.
That are going on. Just want to let you know. So that is not. We don't think.
We don't control that. We don't control. That's Facebook. Go over to YouTube. Send them over to YouTube. The captions are not showing up over there. But Jeremy did say, he said from his phone, he said, click the 3 dots at the top of your right corner, go to captions and turn them off. Thank you, Jeremy, for being smart enough to do that. Thank you, Jeremy.
Oh, okay. And that's on your computer as well. Those 3 dots.
Yeah.
It says turn off translations, and there you go. So that can help. Some of those 3 dots. So there you go. Yeah. For you guys that are
concerned. It's not popping up on my computers. It's not popping. That's why I didn't even want to go there. But Chris Felix asked a question for you, Loopy. He said, what do you tell a kid or parent who has been recruited by other shoe-sponsored teams? What do you tell a kid or parent who is recruited by other shoe companies? I guess, what do you tell your kids or parents who has been recruited by other, shoe teams? What do you tell them?
It's what your program can do, right? And I'm not going to get into the whole shoe war kind of thing, because it is what it is. Right? I was hard work before I was Under Armour, right? So I'm always talking to the parents from a program perspective and what we can do for their child, and where we can place them in what we feel is the best position for them, right? In order for them to develop what translates to the next level. And we think, and what we know, because we communicate with college coaches, what they want to see them do on the court. And if we feel we're better served doing that for them than another program, I mean, that's the recruiting. There's not much more you can say. Because at the end of the day, everybody's giving us away the same shoes. Everybody's going to pay for their travel. It's the same shit, right? I just feel maybe that I can do a better job with that particular player than this other program do. That's what everyone's going to say. Everybody's going to say the same thing. At the end of the day, it comes down to trust and believing in what the program director, that program that's recruiting you, is going to do.
Now, lastly, Luke, we're land the plane. Lastly, what's the biggest reason you think that players jump sneaker lines? Meaning that you're playing with this team, and next thing you know, everything is going good. What's the biggest reason, or the most common reason that kids jump ship?
Promises, number one, right? Promises that, I can tell you what you want to hear in October because I ain't got to produce shit till April or May, right? So that's one. And playing time, a lot of time has to do with the right. They're going to tell you, oh, man, you're over there, or you got to share the ball with Jimmy. Come be Joe over here, man. Don't be Jimmy and Joe. You come be Joe and let him be Jimmy. So a lot of it has to do with playing time. A lot of it has to do with promises, telling I can get you into this camp. I can do this for that. I'm going to get you all these scholarship offers. And there's a lot of guys that do it the right way, but that's probably a lot of times what a kid's going to assume that, let me just hop over here. I think the grass is a lot greener. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. Depends for every kid. Some kids have left particular programs and they've succeeded, and others have gone the other way.
What about exposure? They tell them about exposure. Somebody mentioned exposure.
I mean, colleges, if you're a player, they're going to go watch you play. If you're on a shoe circuit, I don't care what shoe circuit, and you're asking play, they're going to go see you play. At the end of the day, the coaches are going to go sit in the stands. They're going to go fly their plane. They're going to go to whatever event that you're at. And if you can perform between the lines, they're going to go watch you.
And Loopy, and I have a thing, and I want to hear what you got to say about it. Because I think somebody used it, said, I think Herb or somebody said, kid done played what, 4 years of high school, 4 years of high school, 3 summer ball sections, and still don't have an offer. Whose fault is it? Excuse me. Where do that kid have to start looking to?
You know, man, that there's so many variables in that, right?
Okay.
Because the high school coach might be playing them, and let's use a 6'5" kid, right? If you have a 6'5" or above, they usually stick them in the post, right? You know, in most situations, right? For sure in San Antonio, because we don't have the size Houston and Dallas does, right? For the most part.
Okay.
And maybe the AAU coach is playing them, and you got a guy that's a 6'5" kid who really can't shoot the ball, but you know, he should learn how to, you know what, son, the only way you're going to get a scholarship is sit your ass down and defend. Go do all the stuff nobody wants to do because you haven't spent enough time getting skilled outside of what we do. You know, guys, we don't have these guys 2 hours a day, sometimes 3 or 4 days a week, right? So it's like the high school coach has them 10 months out of the year. You have them from March to maybe August or end of July, 3 or 4 times a week in the gym. They have to do some stuff outside what we're teaching and telling them. They got to expand on that. So if they're still not wanting to do the things we're telling them to do, or I'm not saying us, but in general. And he's like, I want to be a 3-point shooter. His ass can't shoot. And he's shooting 12% and he's still shooting threes. And that's probably the reason he ain't got a scholarship. Because a lot of times he's not following the direction of the coaching or the plan in place. Or you got mom and dad telling him, oh, man, don't forget about Jimmy, man. You need to shoot every time you get the ball. Don't pass it to him no more. The college coach is looking at him like, man, I ain't recruiting that kid because I do have a Jimmy that can play. And Joe don't want to give Jimmy the ball, so I'm not taking Joe at my school. That's how it works.
I mean, a lot of people, hey, he's serving it to you guys, and that is Lupe Nunez, guys. And how can they get in touch with you, Lupe, if they want to have more, if people have more questions about some of the topics that you covered and or want to go deeper in them, or they want to inquire about your program, Texas Hard Work?
We have a website, www.texashardwork.com.
And the contact info will be on that website.
Everything will be on that website.
Now, what prompted the name change? It used to be San Antonio Hard Work. Now it's Texas.
It did. So we were based out of San Antonio, and originally we started, we had all San Antonio kids. And, the 2021 class, I think we're in 6th grade, 7th grade. I started getting some kids from Waco, kids from Dallas, kids from Houston, same thing through the high school, right? So, so y'all are Houston guys, right? I mean, you got pride because you're from Houston. You guys in Dallas, y'all damn shit, y'all fight every day. So what I didn't want a kid to feel some type of way by it being, say, I play for San Antonio Hard Work. You know what? I got a kid from Midland. So we decided just to change the name and do Texas Hard Work because we have kids from all over the state. And I just thought that was fair for everybody across the board.
Hey, I got one quick one for you, Lupe.
What's up?
Because it made me think about it. They say you have a baby Shaq at San Antonio Cole right now. Is that the same high school that Shaq attended?
It is, yes. It's the same high. San Antonio Cole. It's on Fort Sam Houston. It's on the base.
Who is that kid playing with?
Ask him his name, Hal.
What's his name?
Vince Iwachuku. Come on, man. Y'all know I know that.
No, I'm talking about how you gonna say it. It's funny when I hear people say
it. Is this the kid? They were in the playoffs and they got beat by the little team Lake Creek.
No. So they lost last year to Dallas Madison in the semis. This year they were the last game played before the UIL tournament was canceled. They beat Priester in the semifinals. They're 3A. Small 3A. School classification. Yeah, small school classification.
So they were going to play against Dallas Madison.
That is correct.
In the championship.
Okay. Correct.
Okay. And this young man was ranked. He was previously ranked on ESPN in their top 25 or whatever it was in their list. Right. So he's nationally known. Now, speaking of the rankings, got to get this question in because it's from a female. Got to get it in. And Trina asked you, she mentioned, is rankings all Nike players? Nike influenced?
I don't think she asked a question. She made a statement.
Well, I'm interpreting the statement, so I just
right
to a question.
The assumption is ESPN is Nike influenced, Rivals is more neutral, and 24/7 is more neutral. I can't answer that because I don't run any of those sites. And it's a matter of opinion, right? It's based on potential, projection, and production, right? And some people don't. Some people say production first, potential second. Others take potential over production. I mean, Doug ranks differently than Jimmy might, right, or vice versa. So people look kids like I look at kids differently, right? I might look at a freshman. We play a lot of our young kids up, right? So I'm going to play a young kid up, regardless of he gets his butt beat early, because I think projection wise, it's what's best for him. Other kids, they can't do that. So as far as ranking goes, it's a person's opinion. It doesn't matter. The only opinion that matters is the guy who can call timeout and sub you in the game. That's it, because he's the guy who can give you a scholarship.
And you know what's so unique about that? I'm glad you said that. They were talking about they are important, Loopy, because we talk about it. But you know, we talk about it even on your social media. You talk about the guys that are ranked, so they are important.
Right.
But my thing is, when you got all of these people ranking, you just said what a guy said. I don't even know. I know ESPN got one.
Rivals and 24/7.
Rivals and 24. I've heard some of those guys at some of those companies said they hadn't seen certain guys. They said I just hadn't seen him yet. But they ranking guys around the country. But it's guys they haven't seen.
Right.
So and I know you can't see everybody. Jimmy can't see everybody. He's smart enough to get Doug. So 24/7. I don't know who runs 24/7. You know the name of the guy?
Evan Daniels is the director of basketball recruitment. Yeah.
So
and Eric Bossy and Corey Rivals is Corey Evans and Eric Bossy.
Okay. And ESPN is who?
Jimmy's boy Stovall.
That's Paul Biancardi.
Paul Biancardi. That's right.
Paul Biancardi is the chief of the basketball recruiting division.
Okay. And he don't get a chance to watch every kid either.
No, he don't. But that means you have to put yourself and do what if that's what floats your boat, then you have a decision to go and play with one of those teams. If you're reasonably marginally that good, you have a decision. Either go play with one of those teams or you got to deal with it. Go get it the long way. Get it out the mud. And that's what, so everybody have choices and consequences. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't want to. This stuff didn't just start being like that.
No.
Eric Bossy been with Rivals for 10 years.
But I didn't know who he was.
I'm just saying, but at some point in time, that's what I'm saying. You didn't know who he was to a certain point in time. Yeah. But his method, only thing that's changed is technology. Is it at his disposal? Same for Evan Daniels.
But if I didn't know who he is, all I was trying to get, that's why I asked Loopy. All I was trying to do is get an understanding, because if I don't know who the hell they are, there's a lot of people on this Facebook, they just don't understand how that process works. And Loopy, you just said something, hey, really and truly, it's out of your control. I think that's what Correct. I got. It's out of your control what Eric Bossy, Eric Daniels, and Stovall do. You can't control them. You better, Jimmy's favorite thing is, you better make sure you're on the right side of politics and be where they are. And find out where these guys are.
Bingo.
Because I ain't going to tell you no lie, Loopy. I didn't do that. Let me tell you, I didn't care when my son was coming up. I just didn't care about it.
Right.
You follow me? It wasn't something that I went around this city talking about, man, he ranked. Hell no. Jimmy told me something, and I related to him. Jimmy said, dude, he a point guard. Point guards are known for their wins. Tell him to take that little ragtag team over there West Side and start them to winning, and watch what happens. Parents sometimes, and Jimmy, that's what you call getting it out of the mud.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't go and say, hey, well, Jimmy, who is Evan Daniels? Who is Jeff Goodman was back there? Not Jeff Goodman. Wasn't the man who went to the San Antonio Spurs? What's my guy?
It's Dave Tellep.
Dave Tellep was back there then. And And so I just got to get it out the mud, y'all. Or guess what? You got the names of these guys now, parents. But hold up now. Little Johnny better be able to play now if you're going to mess with them dudes. Because if you're going, and guess what? You got to talk to them right. You got to talk to, you can't go up there telling them, man, you better play that game with them. So if you're planning on doing that. But to me, I didn't care.
Just remember, the person who ranked your kid the highest is going to be the one that you give the most appreciation or publicity to at that time.
Of course.
That same person, same entity could come back next month and have your kid ranked the lowest, and then no one's
like him no more.
Not to mention them no more. That's how this stuff goes. And so the more, the merrier. The more opportunities for those, guess what, whatever floats your boat in that stuff. But meanwhile, understand everyone is just like a candle. It's only going to burn for so long. It's only
everything has a shelf life.
And that's
everything
it.
has a shelf life.
That's it. As you move, the higher the stakes are in grassroots basketball, you walk in with that one candle. Remember, each level you go up, there's a different, an added ceiling fan or added gust of wind in the room. So that what happened to your candle if you walk up? Somebody's gonna blow it out.
But Jimmy,
it doesn't even, and that's what happens.
Melvin Dukes just said something key. I guess this adds to what we said. He said, but everybody can't play Nike. Just like college, you got to find your fit. Everybody can't play on Nike. Everybody can't play for Loopy. Loopy just said it. Everybody can't play for hard work.
But understand something. I mean, it's sickening for the people to use it as a slight, to try to defend or to substantiate their defense. Loopy put it like this: did Eric Bossi or Evan Daniels attend last summer any of the live events sponsored by Under Armour?
Yes.
Did they attend more than one?
Bossi was at one, Devins was at one, but if they didn't go there, they've got other guys, like you got Doug.
So they were at someone. So their entities were present at both of your live events.
Yes.
Not yours, but the Under Armour.
Correct.
So understand this. So if they were present at Under Armour, then that means they couldn't have been. Now understand, some guys may fly Friday, Thursday and Friday, they'll be in one city. Saturday and Sunday, they go to the next city. That's how a lot of people do on a national scale that have the budget to. But I'm explaining, people are being misled to believe that the coverage isn't there. Every one of those sneaker circuits get covered. We started last summer. Hannah and I went to Fort Worth, not this summer but the last summer before that. That's 2 summers ago. We was there when Greg Brown suited up with Rossi in Basketball University, and they had Nigel Hawkins and some Cybel Wheeler, and all those guys were on the same team, going up against, who did they go up against? Hal? It was something.
I know one year we went the Seawolves. Greg Brown was on the Seawolves and went against Rossi.
Yeah.
In the previous year, he was on Rossi's team. Greg Brown was on Rossi's team. So it's
but around that court.
I
understand. Around that court, the guys were there.
Yeah.
The people. See, what happens is when you don't have that good game, you want to act like that guy was there. You want to erase the entire chalkboard, like that guy that does the rankings or the evaluator was not even in the building, like he didn't exist. But because he wasn't there when you scored 20.
You know what the key thing I've been finding out?
Everybody's sleeping when you score 20.
And I watched this, and I'm just helping the parents out because I heard this. Let me tell you something. A lot of these guys, you just explained it, Jimmy. If he's over there, like if Evan Daniels over here, then one Evan Daniels crew over here, then one. But Jimmy, most of the time they're watching the 17s. Am I right, Loopy?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you've got to have a freak kid like a Greg Brown,
yes,
or someone who decides to play 16s, like a Bryce Griggs type of kid.
Yeah.
Then they're going to go watch that, right? Or the African kid that we had that played 16s and shedding 7 foot. You're going to go see a 7-footer before you're going to go see a 6-footer. You can shake a tree and 1,000 of them 6-footers, some bitches fall out the trees. Now the 7-footer, they're going to go see what's going on over there for a little bit. And they say, okay, we'll write his name down. The 6-footer better score 30 or 40. They can pay some attention. If not, they're going to keep it moving. He just looks like any other kid in the gym. You have to look different when you walk in the gym. That's what catches people's attention. And then when you don't look different, you better play the right way. And then, like Jimmy says, get wins. If you're a smaller guard or a point guard, they're going to judge you on wins.
Hey, Stacey trying to mess with you, man.
No.
What's Stacey talking about?
No. That's an easy one, right?
Oh, shit.
Easy. Stacey says that I can count on one hand how many events that I've been to during the live period that isn't the Nike related. That's not true. Stacey, that's not true.
We was at
because remember now, for several years, that would always be at least one of the other sneaker companies in the same city as the Nike event. Remember that now. For several years, whether it be Dallas, whether it be Indianapolis, whether it be Atlanta, whether it be even Las Vegas before, there's been several cities that had the same rival sneaker companies having events. I've been to several of them. And I've been to one day and flew to the Netherlands the next day. I've been to several of them.
I've seen you at Under Armour, I think, every year. I saw you in Dallas. I saw you in Atlanta. Yeah.
They see, that's the whole thing. The misnomer. People would think, well, Jimmy just go to Nike event. No. If you got a player or if a program, see, here's what the biggest thing is with me. And I said it a long time ago. I know the long. Because all you do is ask me. That's the thing. All you do is ask. I remember years ago, about 10 years ago, Stacey Houston did a symposium, in Dallas. You called and asked me to be there. I was there. Most of the time, Lupa, you asked me to come to your event.
We talking about basketball events, right?
No. We're talking about a basketball event. I came to his basketball event and was scheduled to be there again this year. A lot of people don't ask because they've talked so much shit behind my back, they can't even look me in the face to ask because they think I might know.
Lord help me, Lord.
Hey, I was waiting.
Get out of this show without one of those outbursts.
I was about to say, man, he was doing really good.
Yeah, Stacey.
Well, I'm good though. I'll say it with jest, not in anger. You guys know that. And so, but anyway, guys, it is definitely time to land that plane, man. Lupe, we definitely appreciate you coming and chopping up with us on the Chop Shop. We're in overtime period on this Baby Friday. And hey, credit where credit is due. Right. This is the originator of the phrase Baby Friday, as in reference to the Chop Shop on Thursday. We got it from Lupe.
I didn't know that.
Right.
Boom Boom Room came from Walt Yates. Baby Friday came from Loops. Back a couple of years ago at the radio station, hey, call us Baby Friday. But thanks a bunch, man, for everything that you've done and you're doing for your community in the Austin, San Antonio, Killeen area, the ASAC. That's what we like to call it because that's a very, very fruitful ground for talent in not just basketball, but in all sports nowadays. Several McDonald's All-Americans have come from that area in the last 10 years. Want to understand this, and it's going to get nothing but better. Thanks a bunch. Want to give a shout out to Boo Man out there. Know he's somewhere out there watching.
What's up, big fella?
He definitely, he likes to stay in the trenches. He's the Russell Simmons.
He's working the kids out today. They worked out at 1:00, so they're on a slab somewhere. Him and a couple kids.
Okay, I was looking from. Okay, there you go. I was looking from the bouncing there on the side of you and do like Russell Simmons. Yeah. Okay, God bless you. Thank you for coming. Good night, and keep on rolling. But anyway, thanks a bunch, man, for everything.
Appreciate y'all.
Of course, as you guys see, this concludes our Baby Friday installment of what's going to be. Next Thursday, we're going to present to you. We're going to have a special surprise with some other key figures with sneaker programs in around the state. And we're going to start with Greater Houston, get it out the way, because if you start doing too many people from out of Houston, and they get mad at you. And they'll say, hold on, man, why you ignoring us? We ain't mad. They won't get mad, but they'll just look at you sideways. And not that we care.
Talking about you behind your back.
Yeah, that's what. So next Thursday, but also Monday, special guest on Monday coming up. We're going to be talking and recapping once again The Last Dance. We're going to talk about which will have installments 7 and 8 this weekend, and we're going to recap some of that, which of course had has already seen. So we've done a great job not spilling the beans to any of you guys. That's why we don't really do a lot of talking about it, because it's hard to talk about it without slipping into one of the episodes that we probably have already seen. But you guys be back with us on Monday. Make sure you spread the word. If you're on the Facebook feed, take out the time this weekend. Go over to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. It's free. It's no catch to it. None of this stuff. Just subscribe. We're trying to get our numbers up on YouTube. And that's the real true measuring stick for digital footprints and with programs such as this. So make sure you do that. So share this show if you haven't done so. Share this show to your timelines. That's pretty much it. Because you know what time it is now.
Jimmy, Angel just tearing me up. He said that comments you had just made me take my hat off. And he said the barbershops will be open this weekend. Angel, I can't believe you do me like that, man. See, that's the kind of stuff Lori do to me, and Angie Holcomb and Freight. I cannot believe Angel did me like that. But thank you so much, Loopy. Jimmy,
good seeing you guys.
Jimmy, you want to Dino's?
You know what time it is. It's time to slide on down Dino's back and yabba dabba doo. This thing. So you guys, hey, I'm about to go. Hey, what you say to put with that stuff? Club soda, cranberry, Minute Maid, peach. I'm about to put all that with mine. I'll see you guys on Monday. Peace. I'm up out of here. Chop.
Jim Hicks, Rob Hatter, you are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop, we live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop, we live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the Chop Shop. Yeah, it's lit in the Chop Shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based in debate, but they keep it fact straight. Going 30 for 30. Let's do a first take on Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Claude Ray, Skip Bayless, and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal to the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket.